Dawson Street in Colombo. This evening I'm joined by the former governor, Mr. Kirti Tenakun. Very good evening to you, Kirti.
Very good evening, Faraz.
Thank you. And I just want to point out that although we are broadcasting from the Newsfirst studios, this is a specially adapted studio because of the current conditions that the entire world is facing, and indeed we are facing here in Sri Lanka. This is a specially made up studio to protect the operations of the vast number of our colleagues at the Newsfirst operations upstairs here in Dawson Street. And all this is done so that we can maintain and ensure standards are kept. And of course we are committed to reporting to the people who are in fact our listeners, our employers. And that's the way it is on here at Newsfirst.
And we are keeping the distance.
And we are, of course, keeping the distance, as Kirti quite rightly said. The cameras are very far away from me and from Kirti, and here we are. Now then, Kirti, thank you very much for being on the program.
It's a pleasure.
And I wanted to ask you right at the outset, why is it important to have elections? Why is it important to have parliament at this moment in time, as we are towards the end of April? Why is that important?
If someone is really caring about the Sri Lankan constitution or the democracy for that matter, yeah, public representation is a part of the democracy. And we are having a judiciary, we are having the executive arm, and the public people's representation, yeah, is a must. And we are having an environment, we are living in an environment where the parliament is dissolved, not after four and a half years, and we don't have a parliament in official parliament at the moment. The nominations are called. The country was about to go to the elections when all these unfortunate things took place.
Indeed. Now Kirti Tenakun, your last role has been as a governor of a province. That was your last role. Yes. But previous to that, you were at CAFE, to the centre that looks at having free and fair elections. Now, with that, yes, background, let me ask you this very simple question, which is on the minds of most people that we speak to. They communicate that on SMS, on WhatsApp, and so on. And that is this: is it possible, with this pandemic going on, with the numbers rising every day, although the numbers of those cured of the infection have also rising, is it possible to have free and fair elections?
Faraz, I don't think as the moment we are speaking, 414 cases were reported, and yeah, it's a very big number. The curve is up, and it's going up continuously. So that itself tells the story. Even though the election date is for the second time, it is fixed, I don't feel that there's no assurance that as scheduled for June 20th, we cannot go for elections. That's crystal clear after last 2-3 days. And whatever the ruling party or the government for that matter, whatever the election commissions plans to hold elections in June 20th, I don't think it's possible, because I mean, according to the, if you are talking about doing it according to the law, I mean, the only legal way a political party or a candidate to do his election campaigning is have rally meetings, distributing their preferential numbers, showing their preferential numbers and the party symbols. For that, they must have the public space to do that. Yeah. But here, almost every part of the country is now locked down, and curfew is up and running. The people are not gathering. People are not even going for shops and all to get there.
In short, the people are not bothered about having elections.
And I think more than 85% of the people are not bothered about elections.
Yeah.
They are having their issues to sort it out.
Right.
And even we cannot have a haircut. So,
Indeed.
I mean,
Talking about haircuts, in Sri Lanka, we've got approximately, I was told today, I'm subject to correction, of course, but approximately 75,000 hairdressers, barbers in the country. And even if they were, if they only did 4 and or 5 and only charged 200 rupees and earned 1,000, that's 75 million rupees every day. Now these people are in essence almost like daily paid people, and therefore they the people don't have money. So first of all, even if the distribution of foodstuffs and dry rations and vegetables, even if the ministries have got it right, and if the stuff is moving around all around the country, the fact remains that a vast number of people, a very unhealthy number of people, simply don't have the money, the ready cash, because businesses are closed, big companies are taking the necessary steps on the premise that something is better than nothing. There's so many people with pay cuts, and others have simply got no pay at all.
definitely, I mean, just look at the lawyers for that matter.
Yeah.
And most of the judiciary is closed.
Yeah.
And these are the people who's getting day-to-day income on behalf of them.
So back to this whole business. After all, the first basic human right is the right to life. Now,
Definitely.
on Face the Nation on Monday, I said that if the numbers go up to 400, today they're 414. If we take a look at what happened in China, the number of people infected versus the number of people needing ICU treatment was approximately 5% of those infected. Now in Sri Lanka, if you take 5% of 400, that's about 20. Now, unfortunately, we are about the limit of the number of ICU beds at the Infectious Diseases Hospital. There is another one, which is the KDU facility. There's approximately, I believe, 30 or 40 more beds there. 32. They're keeping that on standby. But whilst all this is happening, do you think that the medical fraternity is accepting that Sri Lanka is safe to have elections? Why can't the president carry on?
Definitely not. I mean, two segments of the society, the medical professionals and the military people are the ones who's, diagnosed during the last 2, 3, 4 days in numbers. So this is a very serious concern. If we go out of control with the medical staffing and for example, the military people, for that matter, we will have a definite problem. And moreover, we are just having something like 500 ICU beds for that matter.
Well, we have a total of 580 before the
thing. But I mean, there are other patients also to take care of. We cannot take these people.
That's why I said that the number of ICU beds is extremely limited.
It's extremely limited, and there's no possibility, there's no whatsoever way we can take a chance on COVID-19. So that is the message coming.
But nevertheless, there are people who say, Mr. Sumandran was here yesterday, and he said that under Section 150, subsection 3, that Parliament has made an allocation, has made a provision. They did it by a vote on account. And he says that clearly shows that Parliament has made a provision. But they haven't made enough provision because the unexpected has happened. COVID is completely unexpected. It is exceptional. So if we need, if the Constitution is silent on these matters, then how possible do you think, in this current scenario, would it be for the President to recall Parliament, even if it is for a day, and for Parliament to have unanimous agreement to pass the necessary laws so that at least Sri Lanka will maintain democratic standards even during this pandemic, and agree that we won't have elections, but we will have this parliament to pass and to legalize what is obviously...
Definitely. I mean, it seems like the government is not happy and they are decided and very much thinking of not reconvening the parliament. But here, in this circumstance, if we are really care about the constitution, if we are ready to accommodate the provisions of the constitution, definitely there's no other way but to reconvene the parliament at the moment. Recall the parliament and get the stuff done legally.
Get it done, get it right.
Right, get it right. And the other stuff, definitely, I mean, we can negotiate and we can get it after through the parliament.
Are we anywhere close, Kirti?
No, definitely. That is the most concerned factor. Now, tomorrow is the scheduled date for the elections, and we are not having elections.
Yeah.
And under the present circumstance, we don't see there's any possibility of having elections in by June 20th. So once again, and moreover, we don't see, we are in a position where even we cannot imagine when can we have the real elections. So how long will it can take is under a very big question mark. So the leadership is all about to face the unpredicted issues and how a country or a community face the challenge according to the circumstance is what is all about the leadership.
Indeed.
And we need that sort of a leadership, a collective effect.
Yes.
With all the parties, all the politicians and all the country will definitely
Now, yesterday Mr. Sumandran said that there is a move to for all the former members of parliament who were on the other side of the fence, if you like,
yeah,
to openly give an assurance to the public that they will support the president for X amount of months so that they can vote the money in and so on and carry on, and they will give an undertaking that they will not topple the government, and after a suitable period, after COVID-19 is sorted out, that they will then go for elections.
Definitely,
would you support such a move?
Definitely. I mean, this is not the right to play politics here. I mean, the election was called, but it is not the matter. It is not what everyone is looking for. I mean, we have to put apart the politics. We have to come together, get together as a country and work on to defeat the COVID-19. And that's the only way to have a normal way of life, decent way of life, civilized way of life.
Now, in between all this, I want to ask you, what's the big problem? So what if you postpone the elections, right? Which the people, half the people probably don't want, are too frightened to go out anyway, right? Whether there is curfew or not, right? People are very aware now because they can see all around the world what's happened. Look at what happened in Singapore, for example, right? So people know this, and people are very aware about this, about keeping the distance between you and I, for example.
As far as, I mean, Election Commission, all the credit to the Election Commission for that matter, very correctly asked the President to consider these options, asking him to refer this to the Supreme Court, which President Gotabaya Rajapaksa voluntarily refused. And I think, I mean, it is not too late once again to reconsider that particular decision.
But of course,
if we are not looking for a constitutional crisis. But here from tomorrow onwards, definitely we are gradually coming into a constitutional crisis. By end of this month, it will further defend. And moreover, the day, the 3 months period is coming on June 2nd, from that day onwards, definitely, I am, according to my experience as an election monitor and a former governor, definitely, I mean, we are in a definitely constitutional crisis. But here, having said that, there are ways so much of ways to that matter come out this particular issue what we are facing on the constitutional crisis. And moreover, don't forget the fact, as an individual, for you and me, we cannot go to the Supreme Court just because the Supreme Court is closed. The Attorney General's Department today referred to the relevant authorities whether they can get some sort of a clearance, medical clearance, whether they can reopen it.
Indeed.
So the justice in department and the other relevant authorities in related to the justice for that matter is also shut down.
Indeed. Now then, on that note, Kirti Terakul, Newsline is going for a short break. We'll be back after the break and we'll be finding out if the president was wrong or was he right, or where was he when he made that decision about when he wrote to the Elections Commissioner and said that it's up to him to set the date of elections. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline. We'll see you at the end of the break.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Does your business belong to one of these marketing communication industries? The Market Research Society of Sri Lanka invites you to join a Marcom initiative to estimate the total value of the industry with the aim of engaging the government. WhatsApp 076 887 0757 to receive the registration link.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Splendid evening to you once again. This is Newsline. We're broadcasting from our brand new studios in the car park outside Newsfirst building here in Dorset Street in Colombo. And my guest this evening, of course, is Mr. Kirti Terakul, the former governor. Now then, was the president right when he got his secretary to write to the Elections Commissioner, reminding them that it was up to them to set the date and not the president?
I mean, I don't see a very big fault with that particular letter under the normal circumstance.
Right.
But here we are facing an extraordinary situation, extraordinary, unforeseen situation.
Yeah.
The things have changed for the worst after that particular letter.
But Kirti, can I put it to you like this? If indeed there's nothing wrong with the president, on the face of it,
Yeah.
in the cold neutrality,
Yeah.
with cold neutrality, if one looks at that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Definitely.
However, once the ball was passed on to the Elections Commissioner, how possible was it under the terms of his remit for the Election Commission to say, well, look, we don't believe that we can have elections?
I mean, if the president is going to refer this to the Supreme Court, of course, I think at the present moment, no one will object. No civilized man will object for that. And we want to get things according to the law.
So why is there this indecent rush then?
I think, I mean, here, are we having any other solution for this crisis? Definitely not. The political parties or the individuals, lawyers can go to the courts, but here everything is shut down. And we need money, the country needs money, the health sector needs money, the people who are the poorest of the poor need money. And without money, we cannot handle it. For example, now there's a huge shortage of drugs in the country for pressure, for diabetic. And all these issues are adding up. As you very correctly said, every single person who is living on day-to-day income is suffering at the moment. So, I mean, we have to come to extraordinary decisions, and
because
the
these are
extraordinary
exceptional
decisions
circumstances.
in unforeseen
But
circumstances.
also, I think we need to bear in mind, and if all our viewers will also appreciate this fact, that over 60% of our workforce is actually unskilled. Now, that's a sad fact. The output from the universities and so on is very minimal, because over the last 72 years of independence, successive governments have not invested in enough on education, on the healthcare, which is why we've got only 580. Maybe after a few donations from various people, it may be
600 by
600
now,
or 650.
not more than
Who knows?
600.
But the sad fact is that all these actions have come, it has taken an act of nature for us to suddenly realize all this. It's been a great big equalizer. But all this talk doesn't really help, you know. I'm talking, you're talking, Sumandran is talking, the president is talking.
And moreover, we will come into more and more deeper issues like food supply.
That's
the
right.
supply chain has already disturbed, and re-establishing the supply chain, foods, healthcare, everything will take some time. And about now we see the vegetable prices might be come up within no time. The monsoon is coming on. The vegetable period, the cultivation period in the hill country is coming down. The production is coming down. The farmers have already abandoned some of their cultivations down there. We are having an issue of fertilizer supply to the Mahalali areas and all that.
Keith, even if they get it right, my point is, even if they get it all right, the people don't have the money.
No,
what are they going to pay for?
That, I mean, if we have enough foods, I mean, and all that, there will be definitely government and the opposition has to work out a way how the compensate the people who's living there, who's losing their livelihoods and all that. That's a big question. But here, having said that, the other basic factors, the other countries which they are doing is not up to the standards now. We are not forcing. For example, every only 1 kilo of chili is produced here when comparing to the needs of the whole chili. Now the India is having an issue with the supply chain in related to the chili. So within no time we will face a shortage of chilies here. So without chilies, how can you eat? Oh, sort of.
Well,
so
you know,
I mean, this will go further.
Well, my point
into
of
details.
asking you this is, I was going to ask you a follow-up question, and don't you think that in these very exceptional circumstances, one has to do very exceptional things? In ordinary times, no sane government would consider printing money.
And the government is continuing
They
printing money, of
must,
course.
in now, because of the circumstances, they will have to print more money. They will have to start the economy slowly but surely, maybe in phases, so that in the areas where the density, the population density isn't there, they can perhaps open it up. Strict controls about the movement of people, but obviously the economy needs to even slightly, slowly grind along.
The wheels have to keep moving.
They've got to keep moving. But I think, you were a governor. Have you actually had people say to you, look, we want to have elections?
No, no one is caring about elections. They are caring about their day-to-day lives, their children's education.
After all, we've got the president who has a mandate. He had a clear mandate. And if everybody wants, actually, if everybody's committed to, first of all, solving this COVID-19 and dealing with the current crisis in terms of the food to the people, in terms of the economy, then surely, if everybody gets together and says, look, Mr. President, we're giving you the mandate, carry on for, let's give you 6 months now and let's look at it again.
I think, I mean, there's no other way to
Would
the
you
country.
subscribe to such a view?
Definitely. I mean, there's no other formula for this. Now, government, the opposition has to come together and has to deal with this. Because, I mean, until day before yesterday, I think if, the opposition and the ruling party thought that we can work out an election. But after reporting 414, unbelievable number, unimaginable number, over within 2-3 days, and we are so sure, the health sector, the experts are saying it is not possible to have elections. We cannot overcome. It's, I mean, all over the country now there are isolated areas. So how can we deal with that?
Indeed. As we come to the end of this sort of shortened version of Newsline, a few minutes shorter than we would normally have it, because of the challenges that we are facing, I hope that you will keep your distance, stay safe, and also to focus on how we can all band together and act as one Sri Lanka, one people in our quest to get over this together. United we stand, and divided, of course, we fall. Kirti Tenakun, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
And that's the way it was on Newsline. Take care, and of course, we wish you a very good evening. Take care, and good night. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.